can you structure your hybrid course to work with your skill set as an instructor and help students with their learning process? There are four possible blends that you can consult, and of course, we all know the face-to-face driver where we lecture and facilitate learning activities in class, and then students move online to complete other assessments. In contrast, we have the online driver, where your lectures and course materials are only presented online, and we return to an active class when we're engaging in discussions, problem-based learning, or active learning. Finally, there's the flex, where we divide our unit and we present the first half in a traditional face-to-face model, and then move the second half to an online environment where students are self-directed and work exclusively online. As instructors, we check in. We schedule ongoing student consultations to guide them through the learning process, and normally they complete a project or a presentation using the Flex Blend. Finally, we have the rotation blend, which might be new to you. In order to do this, you would schedule and devise a unit that's made up of stations. And students essentially move through a series of stations, which may be online or in the classroom or a group, to complete a specific lesson. Uh, as we explore these models in greater depth, we see that in the face-to-face model, it's really an enriched model. So course content materials are presented in class and supplementals might be moved online. The students, after completing those face-to-face learning sessions with the instructor, go online to complete or out of class their remaining coursework. Learning activities are more important than homework in this particular learning path. As the instructor, you would provide direct instruction and facilitate the transition to online application. And it's wise to schedule active learning or higher order thinking skills during class time so you can facilitate student development in those areas. And if you're wondering about collaboration, students can still work in small groups and complete projects in class as well. Moving to the online or flip model, uh, course lectures and content and materials, of course, are presented online, and then students use those materials to engage in discussions or active or problem-based learning. They may need to attend required lectures or lab sessions to build their skills. However, the application of the learning is done in the classroom environment. So as the instructor, you would facilitate active learning and application of the content and showcase active learning strategies. Um, Grouping again works wonderfully in this type of model. Students may receive instructions in small groups and complete tasks or projects, both in the classroom and online. The Flex Blend is another model commonly found in community colleges. Um, this is where you take a unit and deliver the first half of it in a traditional face-to-face model, and then move the second half of the students' work online. We usually might do this with a project or a research paper or some kind of case history exploration. Um, as the instructor, what you do is you will check in during the learning process and schedule ongoing student consultations so they can complete this project or paper, their model. The rotation blend is new to many of us, and there are different types of rotation blends. And you might think of this as making stations. So a unit of instruction would require a student to move through a series of stations. In some cases, the student would have to rotate to a lab to complete a lesson, or you can make it an individual stations where students self-select different stations to complete a specific lesson. So you're moving between online and face-to-face components based on the schedule that is determined by the instruction. You are based on the schedule, which is determined by the instructor. Usually the in-class labs tend to require hands-on learning so students can demonstrate that they can write something or perform a certain kind of experiment. So there is a scheduled rotation. Students would rotate from one station to the other to complete a series of learning tasks. You direct instructions to the students, giving them advice through stations and components is very important. You might have to also establish learning checkpoints and provide individual tutoring or support as needed. And you could actually add group tasks as stations within a rotation where students would have to interact with one another to actually accomplish something. So the rotation is a little more complicated because you've got to station out your unit as opposed to just arranging things in sequential order.